Hey, what's up everyone? So today I'm going to be doing a video on the braking system on my Lectric XP e-bike, and going to go over with you guys some adjustments on the brakes, also about upgrading to hydraulic disc brakes. Now I have over 300 miles on my bike currently, and I have not had an issue at all with these brakes that the bike comes with. They are mechanical disc brakes and they have excellent stopping power. In fact, last week I was traveling on a road back here that I usually hit about 25 to 30 miles per hour on going downhill, and I seen the weeds rustling a little bit and a freaking deer jumped right out in front of me. Thank God I seen the weeds, because it gave me a split second of heads up time to hit the brakes. I slammed on the brakes and locked the back wheel up, and that was right at like 280 miles on these original brake pads, and they still locked the back wheel up and stopped just in time before hitting the deer right in the side. Scared the crap out of me. So with that being said, I'm about due for some new brake pads in the rear, because I have 300 miles on these ones, and where I live there's a lot of hills, and those hills do take a pretty big toll on your brake pads. Now when you get this bike from the factory, they come with A10.11 pads, which are ceramic metallic pads, and they have excellent stopping power, but they are somewhat a little bit squeaky at times. Now you can get a little bit of a quieter pad, which is an E10.11, and these are made by Tektro also, and these are more of an organic compound. You can get some cheaper pads if you don't want to stay with the Tektro brand that they come with, and they make all different types of compounds. But if you go with the organic, you might have a little bit less stopping power if your brakes are a little bit wet, and also they're going to wear down slightly quicker, but they may be a little bit quieter. Now I don't have any experience with the organic compound ones, but I've done a lot of research and a lot of reading on them, so I'll post a link down below to some different brake pads that will work on your factory brakes, or will work on your XP's factory system. So if you guys are interested, expand the description of the video by clicking on the little arrow next to the video title, and all the links will be in that description. If you guys have any comments or anything, please post them below. I'll try to answer any questions that you guys may have, and I want to thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys hit that thumbs up if you find this video interesting. Now I'm going to go over a couple reasons why I'm even upgrading to a hydraulic system, and I'm going to go over with you guys here towards the end exactly how I replace my brake calipers to change them over to hydraulic. So if you guys want to see that, make sure you guys stick around. So now the number one reason why I want to change my braking system to a hydraulic system is because of price. Like I said, I've had no issues at all with the current braking system, but for the price of these, you get the both front and back hydraulic calipers that come with the brake pads. Currently what I paid for these was about $43, and if I were to go with the factory pads that came on the bike, it would be about $15 per wheel, which was 30 bucks. So for an extra 13 bucks, I'm upgrading to hydraulic that comes with the brake pads. So in my opinion, you can't beat that. I figured, hey, give it a shot, replace them, it might work out better. And if so, it'd be a good video to do for you guys to show you the difference. So that's the number one reason why I'm replacing this. It's not because the original brake pads weren't working, it's just because price, and I wanted to try something different. So now, the number two reason why I'm changing these is because on these hydraulic calipers, when you squeeze this is hydraulic inside here instead of spring loaded, and it squeezes both the inside and the outside pad with two different pistons from each side into the rotor. On our factory brakes, this system here, this mechanical system, it only pushes one piston in against the rotor, and then it bends or pushes the rotor over into the pad on the back side. And you're constantly, as your brakes wear down, there's a silver round bolt, which I'll try to show you guys here. There's a silver round bolt on the back of your calipers that you have to adjust as your pads wear down, because you have to adjust that rear pad closer to your rotor so that your front pad doesn't have to push your rotor over as far to hit your back pad. So as your brakes wear down, you're going to want to adjust that in. You'll feel that bolt click as you turn it. You turn that in slightly and spin your wheel until you just hear it to start to rub. And then once it starts to rub, you just back that off 1 click, maybe 2 clicks until you don't hear it rub. And that'll put that back pad in as close as possible to where it's not touching your rotor. And that will prevent having to push your rotor over as far to hit your other caliper. Now, the calipers that I'm upgrading to, like I said, are the X-Tech, and they're made by Zoom. These are the HB-100 calipers, and these are cable-driven hydraulic calipers. And what that means is I don't have to replace the levers or the cables or anything like that. All I have to do is bolt these on, attach the cable to it, and I got a hydraulic braking system. Now, if I were to go and change it to a full hydraulic system, I would have to change this lever, find one that had the motor cutoffs, change this cable over to a hydraulic, I guess it would be tube, and do a lot more changing. This is the easiest way and a really easy upgrade to do. So if you guys are interested, please follow along. I'm going to show you guys exactly how to change and adjust these. So as I've said in my previous videos, the first thing that I suggest when you first get your bikes is wiping off your rotors with rubbing alcohol and doing a proper adjustment on your brakes. And that's going to help out big time with your brakes wearing in and with brakes squeaking and everything like that. But after you've ridden for a while and your brakes have started to wear down, there are some adjustments you're going to have to make. As I've said on the one that was down there on that bolt behind the calipers, you're going to want to adjust that in for your inner pad. And once you get everything else lined up, once your pads start to wear down a little bit after time, your brake lever is going to go in pretty far the more your brakes wear down and get closer to your grip. Once you feel that you don't have enough brake pull here, and especially if your handle starts to hit your grip, you're going to want to adjust these screws here to put some more tension on your cables. You just want to screw this out so that more threads show, and then tighten this inner nut up tight against this so that that keeps this out, and that will adjust your tension on your cable. The other place that you can do that same adjustment, if you run out of adjustment up there, is right here. You do the same thing. You screw that out and then tighten this nut up against this, and that will tighten this cable up. Now, if you run out of adjustments on both of those, you can also loosen this up here and pull your cable through here and tighten it back down. But if you need to go that far, it's probably about time that where your brakes are pretty wore down and you're going to need new pads anyway. So I suggest just getting new pads. Now, these adjustments are going to be on any bike that you own, regardless if it is a manual pedal bike or an electric bike. Over time, especially when the bike is new, your cables are going to stretch a little bit. Like I said, that's on any bike. So these are adjustments that are just regular maintenance. So in my opinion, you should learn how to do them yourself if you feel comfortable with working on your own bikes. Now, I'm no bike mechanic. I'm just a regular do-it-yourself kind of guy that likes to know how things work and know how to work on my own stuff. So take this information as you will, but I hope you find it helpful and work on your bikes at your own risk. If you don't feel comfortable, I do recommend going to a bike shop and getting this work done yourself. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the caliper changing and show you guys exactly how I'm going to do that. Check out what I got now, guys. Actually, I've had this one for a while and I just never thought about using it. It was for my kid's bike, but a nice bike stand there. Picks it up off the ground nice for doing things like this. I did have it clamped on here and I had the whole bike off the ground, but it was messing up this sticker here. But I'll put a link below to that or one similar to it if you guys are interested in one of those as well. Alright guys, so basically all you need to change these is a 5mm Allen wrench, and the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to adjust my cables all the way in here. Now these are what I had to adjust for as my brakes wore down. I'm going to adjust this one in. And then what I'm going to do is take this cable off of the caliper by removing this bolt here. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to need to use the bracket that came with the new one or not. Now the bracket for the front and the back is different, so make sure you're using the right one on the front and the right one on the back. The calipers are the same, but the bracket that they give you is different. And like I said, I'm not sure if I'm going to need to use my old bracket or the new bracket, but we're going to go ahead and check it out and see which one looks the best. So just remove that, take that cable off of there. put this back in here so I don't lose it. Then I'm going to go ahead and take this complete cable, or this complete caliper, off of the bike with these 2 bolts here. And like I said, I'm going to take these off first and see if it will work with the old bracket. If not, I'll try the new bracket and see if it lines up any better. Okay, so that's not going to fit through there. That's not going to fit through there, and I really don't want to cut that cable, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this out of here. Hopefully that will screw it into the new one. Oh yeah, perfect. So that prevents me from having to cut this end off and the cable fraying. You know, it figures every time I record something, they're shooting at the gun club. That's what all that noise is. So got that on there. I'm gonna go ahead and remove this safety thing they put in there for shipping. Gonna take this bracket off first and see how it fits. Kind of hard to compare the brackets. It actually looks like the, let me see if I can show you. It actually looks like the pads are sticking up too high on the disc. They're not going down all the way. Now my old pads did the same thing, not quite as much as these ones are. Not quite as much as these ones are sticking up. And I'll show you that here. I'll remove the pads from my existing caliper and I'll show you how they were wearing. But it seems like this needs to sit down further on there, so maybe I do need to change this mounting bracket as well. I'm going to go ahead and take it off and see if it makes any difference with the new one. Alright, now you can see the difference. The old bracket for the rear is on the bottom and the new bracket for the rear is on the top. And these bolt holes are the same, but on these ones, it positions the caliper down a little bit more, and I think it's going to fit on the rotor a little better like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put the new one on and see how the caliper fits and the discs or the pads line up on the rotor that way. Alright, so I got the new bracket bolted on. Make sure you bolt this on the right way and not upside down. And I just want to say again, do this at your own risk. I mean, the braking system is an important part on your bicycle. Do this at your own risk. If you don't feel comfortable or think it's right, take it to a bike shop. Now, one thing I noticed, I tried it with the old bracket, I tried it with the new bracket. In my opinion, this is just my opinion, I think that the new bracket actually lines it up a little better, and the pads line up a little better on the rotor. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Now, it does still stick up. The pads do still stick up slightly past this, but I was having the same problem with my original Tektro brakes, and I'll show you that here when I remove the pads. I cannot get it to adjust down onto there far enough. Now, it seems like if this would sit down maybe just a little further, like about right there, it would be perfect, but it needs to sit right there. It's not far off, but it seems like it could be down just a little bit further. But I'm going to go ahead and bolt this on here and see how it lines up. So now, once you get your bracket on there, you want to make sure you clean your rotor really well with like a brake cleaner or a rubbing alcohol or something. I'm going to just use some rubbing alcohol here to clean my rotor off, to get any contaminants off of there, because you don't want to contaminate your new brake pads if you have any oils or grease or anything on your existing rotor. So you want to make sure everything's real clean. And I also recommend, like I said, I recommend doing this when you first get your bike too, to make sure there's no oils or anything on your rotor. I'm gonna go ahead and bolt this on here now. Sorry about the camera angle here, guys. I'm trying to do too many things at one time here. With my existing brakes being the same, not being able to get them down far enough, you could see where they were at, and they needed to come down like another 1/8 inch or so. With that being said, I still did not have any problems with the bike stopping. Like I said, I've tried to line them up before, and I got them as close as I could get them and did not have any problems with them stopping. First, I'm going to snug it up a little bit and get my cable tightened up, just a little bit. Then I'm going to install this cable here. Now, one thing I seen too is there is an adjustment screw at the end of these, this arm right here, and that's for the pull length on these brakes. You can make it more or less. So that's something that I'm not planning on adjusting that. I'm just going to leave it alone and see how that is, but that is for adjustment on your pull. Seems like the cable needs to come further down. So I'm going to see if I have any slack up there that I can pull the whole cable down so it comes into here. Alright, so what I had to do was, for some reason, it seemed like I had to adjust this out pretty far and also adjust this out. For some reason, I don't know if it's because the cable's wrapped in here, but it didn't seem like it was sitting right on both ends. So right now it seems like it's sitting good. I got this tightened up. So what I'm going to do now is just basically loosen these two mounting bolts here, just so your caliper has some play this way. And being that I'm working by myself, I'm going to fold this down so I can reach the brake. Then I'm going to pull the cable, and that's going to position your caliper perfectly with your rotor. Keep the brakes squeezed, and then tighten these bolts back up, and that should center everything. Alright, now I'm going to spin the back wheel and see if anything rubs. Looks good, no rubbing. Alright, now you guys can see, hopefully, that when you're squeezing the brakes, it's not bending the rotor over at all to hit the back pad. Alright guys, so I got everything lined up perfectly. And the brake lever pull feels great. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a try out and see how those pads that came with them hold up. Now, one thing to note, I did take the pads out of the front ones, and there is no name brand or no markings or anything on them. I believe it said these are resin pads. So on the listing that I purchased these from, these are probably resin pads. So I'm going to go ahead and try these ones out and see if I lose any stopping power with them compared to the factory Tektro brake pads. So now after I ride for a while, I'll put an update in the description or in the comments of how these brakes are working out and what I think of them. Now I'm not going to change the front yet, only so that I can compare the front to the back for stopping power. I know that's not an exact comparison because they're on different wheels, but the front is nowhere near wore down enough to change yet, so I figured I'll get the maximum life out of there. And to be honest, I was actually a little bit surprised that the back wasn't wore down more than it is. you can see here, I still had some life left in these. A lot more than I thought. It was hard to tell because of the way they were wearing. The pads on the backside were almost touching. But I'm going to take these pads out of here and show you real quick how they're wearing, and that's actually the same way these ones are setting. So give me a second here and I will show you that. If you're changing your existing brake pads, all you got to do is remove this pin and slide the pads out of the bottom. Now, one nice thing about the hydraulic ones, you can actually remove the pin and you can change your pads from the top. Never have to remove the disc, I don't believe, unless you have to push the pistons back in. But it looks like they go back in as soon as you release the handle. So I might be able to change pads on that a lot easier than on these factory ones. So now I slid the pads out and it's kind of wore off now, so I'm glad I got the markings off of that before I wore these down. But these are A10.11s, and I'll show you here how they're wearing. So you can see here, see the lip on this side? Let me see, I don't know if it's going to be hard to see. But you can see the lip on the upper end where it wasn't sitting down on the rotor far enough. And like I said, I adjusted these the best I could and could not get them to go down any further without sanding these down slightly or getting them milled down, so that the caliper would sit down a little closer to the rotor, and then they would have sat on there perfectly. But like I said, this was how they were wearing, and you can see I still had a pretty good bit of life left on them. I probably could have knocked this edge off here and reused these, but as you could see, when they were squeezing the rotor, the top of the pads were almost hitting each other because they were coming over top of the rotor. So they were almost hitting each other. That's why I thought maybe they were getting wore down pretty good. But like I said, I could probably knock that lip off of there and use these if I had to. But I was hoping that the Zoom ones would have fit a little bit better, the hydraulic ones. And to be honest, they fit about the same when you put this bracket on. They still sit above the rotor just slightly. So I could probably sand these down evenly and get it to go down on there further. I'm not sure exactly why that's sitting like that on both the factory and the new ones, but it was a little bit more difficult than I thought to install. For me, it was still fairly simple, but I didn't think I would have to keep these adjustments out that far for the cable to work. And like I said, that's probably because the way it's wrapped up inside there. If I unwrap that, which I don't really want to do right now, if I unwrap that, I might be able to get the cable to sit right and then readjust this here. But it's working out like this. I just lose a little bit of adjustment there as the brakes wear, but I have a feeling maybe that's what this bolt's for here, that you can adjust this bolt in or out for your pull on your brakes here. So I'm hoping that's what that bolt there is for. Now, another thing to keep in mind is these are the new brakes and these are the old brakes. So they are different style brakes. So just keep that in mind if you do upgrade to these hydraulic systems. They do come with different style brake pads. Like I said, you could change these ones from the top, these ones from the bottom. And I kind of like the new style pads a little better, to be honest, the way they sit in there. But that's just my own personal opinion. Alright guys, so I did play around with that adjustment screw there. It's 2mm, and it is your brake pull adjustment. So you can see here it's super tight. The handle hardly even moves. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust it until I have the correct cable pull for what I like. So to give it more pull or less slack, put it that way, you turn this screw counterclockwise. Now you can see how it comes in further. So that's a little too much for my liking. So then I'll go ahead and turn it a little bit clockwise. A little bit more clockwise. So that's about perfect for me. That's where I like it. So that screw actually takes place. You don't have to use this one or this one for your brake adjustment after your brakes wear down. You could probably just use this screw here. And like I said, it's a 2mm Allen wrench. So that's actually a nice feature. I really like that. Instead of having to adjust here and up there, you just adjust that to where you like your cable pull and you're good to go. So yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be a little bit less complicated adjusting these, because now I don't have to mess with a bolt back here to adjust the inner pad, because it's now actuated by a piston on both sides. So I'm going to take it for a spin and see how these brakes are working out. You have to take it for a nice ride and let the brakes wear in, hit them good a few times, make sure that they're working great before you go on a nice long ride. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and over time, as these brakes wear in, I'll post in the comments about how they're working out for me. If you guys have any questions, feel free to comment below. All right, let's try this out. All right, guys, so I'm over here on my first test, and we're gonna see how the brakes work, see if they squeak. I have no idea how fast I'm going because my speedometer is still not working yet. Let's go ahead, check this out, see if they squeal. No squeal at all. Just hit them lightly here. Yep, slows down nice. Let's try it one more time. Not bad at all. Maybe a little less stopping power, but they need to wear in yet, so we're gonna go ahead and ride it for a while, see after they get wore in, and like I said, I'll post in the comments how they're holding up and how they're working. But if these are just resin, organic type pads, probably not gonna get any squeal, but they probably will wear out a little bit faster. So we're gonna see how many miles I get out of these ones, and I'll keep you guys updated. Let me see if I could change this camera angle here and show you how they're working. All right, let me turn around here so you guys can see a little better. All right, let's try this out. This is a little hard to film like this, guys. All right, let me spin around here. No squeal at all. They work pretty good. So overall, so far I'm happy with them. I was a little disappointed about having to adjust my cables out and them not mounting down on the rotor completely all the way. They were about maybe an 1/8 inch above, if that. But then again, my old ones were the same way. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, found it useful and helpful. If you guys did, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I will definitely see you on the next one. Definitely, I promise. That's if you guys watch. You better watch, I hope. Thanks for watching, guys. See you around. And my speedometer started working again. Yay!